Hey everybody, I just got an email from YouTube saying that they are getting ready to implement some changes to YouTube. I guess they're going to offer, everybody's heard about the subscription-based programs and things. From what I can read and gather, because I got kind of angry at first, because it sounded like what they were going to do is change the way that, people get paid through AdSense and all that kind of stuff, and it seemed like they were going to maybe force people to either not monetize at all or, go into the subscription-based stuff. But from what I've read, after reading deeper into it, that's not the case. Basically, it'll just function the same as always, and you'll have the ability for added features, such as, ad-free video viewing. You can go on YouTube and go to anybody's video and have no ad show at all. And you would pay a monthly fee for that privilege. I don't know how that affects, the actual channel owner or whatever. That's kind of unclear to me at this point, but basically what I cared about was all of your experiences through my channel. If it ever came down to a point where they wanted to force people to pay to watch the videos, I would do one of two things. Either one, completely unmonetize and make everything, totally free to watch and non-intrusive, a bunch of stuff popping up in your face. But either that, or if that wasn't even an option, I would just shut it down, because I would never want someone to pay to watch my videos. It wouldn't seem worth it to me. Watch some guy out in the woods like messing around with cutting logs into lumber and whatnot. It doesn't, it just seems ridiculous to me to have to pay for something like that. So right now it doesn't look like anything major like that is going to happen. What it seems like to me is they're going to offer, a few extra items or ways to experience YouTube that you would have to pay a monthly subscription fee for. Obviously, if you didn't want those, then you wouldn't have to pay anything, just like always. So, at least that's what I gather from reading into it. So I just wanted to, in case anybody was, wondering about that or anything like that, I just wanted to kind of put everybody at ease, and because I got kind of freaked out at first when I saw the email. Though I read the first few lines, it was kind of freaky, but after reading into it, it's not going to be that big a deal. Unless you want the extra features, then you would, subscribe to the subscription fee or subscription-based material. But rest assured, it's not going to happen on my channel. It's never going to cost anything to watch. So, and I don't think it should. But enough of that. I just didn't want people freaking out. So now we'll go on to kind of a response to Joe over there at St. Bernard Acres. He brought up an interesting point about people kind of being forced into an off-grid or homesteading style lifestyle by economics. Basically forced into it. If they were able to choose, they would choose to not live that way, but are made to live that way because of circumstance. That may very well be true for a lot of folks. Obviously not the ones that are, setting up, $5,000 solar systems and things like that. They're not being forced into poverty, I don't think. But definitely, I can see that a lot of folks are having to lower their standard of living lately. And it just, it happens that way, I guess. If you know anybody who's ran a small business for longer than 20 years, you can ask them and they'll tell you, my father-in-law and all them ran the concrete block plant here in town for a long, long time. And, it never was like a big profitable thing from what Heather's grandpa told us. But it did make money, But gradually, as the years went on, and especially in the last 10 or 15 years, the bottom fell right out of it. It just seems like it's harder and harder for an individual to go out into the world without a specific skill set and a way into something that may be developing as a career into the future, just like probably in the late 80s, the engineering robotics field and, the astrophysics and engineering robotics and all that kind of stuff, it probably wasn't that big of a career, But the guys who went to college for that, say, maybe in the mid-90s or something like that, those guys are the ones that are making big money now. It's not that that career was popular then. It's that, they got lucky in foreseeing that it was going to be in the future. And to make a success of yourself nowadays, it seems like you have to do that kind of stuff, I mean, there's always going to be a need for, construction and things like that, but the small guy is falling away. It's just falling away. Larger companies are covering larger areas. I mean, just here in my town, instead of someone hiring a local handyman type that even if they're bonded and insured, they'll call Springfield, like 45, 50 miles away, and they'll have, a large company send a little crew out to build them a deck or something like that. I don't know why, but I don't know. The small guy can't compete with the prices that the big guys can put together. And if you can call a company, to come in from 45 or 50 miles away and pay them exactly the same as you would pay the local guy, but they can get the job done in one day where the local guy will take a week, people are probably going to, go for the ones that are going to get it done the fastest. And that doesn't mean that they do shoddy work. It just means that they do it so much. There are large companies that only do roofing. If you only do one thing over and over again, you're going to get fast at it, and you're going to be able to cut costs. But, as far as people being forced into homesteading, I don't know if they're being forced into homesteading. They might be forced into living a different way than what they are used to. I know in my case, in particular, we're not forced into homesteading. Just so everybody knows, it's not through the sweat of my brow that I have what I have. I do like to work hard. I'd any day rather be outside than inside working. But that's not what got me here. What got me to where I am right now is just blind luck. I was married once before, and she was in the Army, and we lived in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and we lived there 5 or 6 years, and she went to Iraq, she went to Afghanistan, so there was 2 years that she was gone there, and that was okay. But at the end of her 4-year enlistment, I told her to get out. You know, we can go back to Missouri and closer to family and figure out how to live there. You know, I got tired of being, all the way over there, and just the whole military lifestyle was weird. You know, you live right on top of other people, and I mean, Fort Campbell covers, I think, 250,000 acres or something like that, and it's just densely populated. It's just like living maybe like in Manhattan or something. Like, there's just people everywhere. Everywhere you look, it's ACUs, like, going all over the place, and I didn't really care for it, so I told her, hey, why don't you just get out, we'll go back home, and well, she didn't want to do that. She re-enlisted, so we got a divorce, and I moved back here, and I met my current wife that I already had known from going to school with her. I think I knew her since like 5th grade. Yeah, 5th grade. And met up with her, and we ended up getting married and everything. And it just so happened that her parents own a ton of land, like 1,200 acres. And I didn't know anything about it. Her dad and grandma and her uncle and brother also, they all own rent houses. That's what they do for a living. And they probably own like 40 to 45 rent houses here in town. And so they own the house that we live in right now. So I guess technically you could say we own our house. It's my father-in-law that owns the house, but we don't pay rent or anything. All we're out is basically utility bills. We don't have cell phones or anything like that, so just utility bills. And so we're able to live very cheap. And we have kind of a jump start or an easy way in that maybe a lot of people don't have. And it's not because it was planned that way. I just happened to be lucky, you know. I don't really ever want to come across like I'm bragging about any, the amount of land that we're moving on to or anything like that. I just want everyone to know, the situation. The piece of property where we're actually building at is just, a section of the entire, big land parcel that my father-in-law and mother-in-law actually used to live on when they first bought the property more than 25 years ago. I think it was like 30 years ago. And they put a trailer there and had a well drilled and all that, and they only lived there like 5 years. So the well only has 5 years of use on it and the land and everything. So it has just sat there unused. So me and my wife, if we wanted to, I'm going a long way around to get to the main point of we're not being forced into homesteading. If we wanted to, we could continue to just stay in this house that we're in now. And it's been fixed up and remodeled and everything. I think when they bought it from the bank in a foreclosure auction or something like that, or for back taxes, I think they gave like $3,000 for the house. And then they put, I don't know, 20,000 into it. I don't know how much they put into it, but they completely rebuilt the whole house. It's like a brand new house. Although it is like 100 years old. But so we could just stay here for the next 40 years if we wanted to, and just continue to make money on our own, enough to pay the bills that we have to pay, and just go on like that. But really what drives us to go out there to that property is two things. It is partly economics. Things are getting so expensive. Natural gas for us is like, in the wintertime, like $400 a month. Plus, our electric bill, even in the wintertime, is still $150. So, that's $550 just in basic utilities, That doesn't include, internet or anything like that. Car insurance, what have you. And that doesn't maybe sound like a whole lot to some people. I know some of you are probably paying, $700, $800, $900 mortgages a month plus all those utilities. And again, it's not because of anything that I've done that was smart, such as saving or anything like that, that got me here. It was just blind luck. I'll be honest with you. I really didn't do anything much to deserve, kind of a, I don't know if I would call it a free ride, but kinda. I mean, I'm willing to work. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here like, oh, gimme. If they need help on a rent house or anything like that, I'm more than willing to help them, anything like that. But, so everything's getting more expensive, and it's just tougher to make it. We need to break down and simplify to have more extra money. We have enough money right now to survive on just fine. But are things going to continually get more expensive is what we're thinking. So, cut back a little bit, move out there, live a little more simple, do for ourselves a little bit more, and maybe enjoy life a little. Instead of just barely scraping by month to month, just staying at home, not going, out to eat or anything like that. Move out there. Maybe we'll have a little bit of extra money to buy something here and there, and, stuff like that. So that's one thing that drives us out there. The other is society. And this is the big one. I'm sure we all have experienced the lack of respect from people, especially as of lately. I mean, if you go to Walmart, you're going to run into at least 2 or 3 people that are just rude. Just absolutely horrible attitudes for no good reason. I don't know if those people were beaten with like hoses when they were children, or if their parents used to burn them with cigarettes. I don't know what their problem is. But you can just walk down the street and people will just yell at you. And if you go to someone's yard sale and try to buy something from them and say, hey, I'll give you this much, and they don't like it, they'll get mad, and they'll let you know about it. It used to, even when I was a kid, maybe 20 years ago, it used to people used to put up with each other a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't like what someone was saying, you just might have kind of maybe would have walked away from them and said, okay, have a nice day or whatever, and go on. Now, if somebody doesn't like what you're saying or doing, they will come straight up to your face and they will let you know in plain English that they do not approve of what you're doing. And there used to be consequences for that kind of stuff. Little teenagers out here running up and down the streets just yelling cuss words and telling people to go F themselves. And there was some teenagers out here just in front of my house, right in front of my house, 20 feet from my chain link fence, in the middle of the street, 2 or 3 teenagers. There was cars going by. It was right after the high school let up, about a mile up the road there. And there was cars going up and down, and these teenagers were yelling stuff at these people in these cars. Every time a car would go by, they'd cuss at the car, whoever was in there, just to get a rise out of them. Well, these one people stopped in the middle of the street, and a guy jumped out of the driver's seat and started yelling back at the teenagers, and the teenagers held their middle fingers up, and told them to, I don't know if I want to say what they said, but, they told them to perform an oral act upon them, and that there wasn't a thing that they're going to do about it because they're minors, and the guy was over 18 that was in the car. And these kids know that, and they just run up and down the streets just yelling, just obscene, the most vulgar sexual comments and all kinds of crap that you've ever heard. And there's nothing that you can do about it. If you call the cops, the cops can't do anything because they're minors. What are they going to do? Write them a ticket for, disturbing the peace or something? No. I mean, pick them up and take them home to their parents or whatever, but the parents around here just let them right back out the door, so it doesn't matter. But that's the main reason. You know, my daughter is 10 and she'll be 11 at the end of this year. So, you know, that kind of crap going on, that's not okay with me. You know, and I'm not the kind of person that can just sit back and just know that there's nothing I can do about it and go on. You know, I can't do that. If my daughter was out in the front yard and some 15-year-old yelled some sexual obscene thing at her, I would go out there, I would grab that kid by his neck, and I would smash his face into the pavement until he was unconscious, and then I would go to jail. But I wouldn't think about that while I was going out there and smashing this guy's face into the pavement. Okay, I wouldn't think about that. I would think he just yelled something that's the most horrible, disgusting thing I've ever heard at my kid, who is innocent. You know, my 10-year-old daughter's like, oh, My Little Pony, and, you know, I love anime, like Japanese stuff, and she doesn't know anything about boyfriends and all that kind of stuff, so I wouldn't be able to control myself. So we need to kind of separate ourselves a little bit. And that's what I think it comes down to. A lot of people just want to separate. You know, there's too many people all slammed up against each other. Men especially, have an instinct within to explore. You know, if you're crammed up in a city, that's why teenage boys always get into trouble. You know, they'll get into a group of 5 or 6 and they'll go running down the streets trying to find something to dig or cut down or mess up or tinker with or whatever, and they'll get in trouble. You know, take that same group of boys out to the woods and they can do anything they want to do and they're not going to get in trouble. So, you know, a lot of people have that instinct within to get away from other people. You know, you need to associate with other people. You can't be a hermit, really. People have the need to be kind of like a pack or whatever. You need to communicate and interact with other people, but at the same time, there comes a point where you want to be kind of separate also. That is really what I believe is the core of most of these people's desire to do homesteading or off-grid living, is the separation, peace and quiet, you know, to feel like they've conquered a little portion of the earth or whatever for themselves. You know, something that they can call theirs and that they've created in their own image, what they would want it to be. You can't do that in town. You know, you got to get a permit to put up a freaking fence. So, you know, but I really believe that that's at the core of it. That it's a kind of a psychological thing, I guess. You just need to separate a little bit. And why not? There's plenty of room out here. I don't know, you know, people live in, you know, Cincinnati and New York and just Dallas, anywhere you can imagine. People seem to want to bunch up in cities. And I know that's where a lot of the professional type jobs are. But, you know, I really don't see the need in those professional type jobs. Technology has gotten to a point where it really does not need to advance anymore. You know, it would be nice if they could, you know, cure cancer and all that stuff, but really, do people need to live past 100 years? I mean, I know that everyone wants to live forever, okay? But there's a reason for one generation to die off and let the next step in. You know, the planet would be completely overpopulated if no one ever died. It's just the cycle of things, you know, and it's scary, but that's just the way it goes. But, you know, with technology where it is, there's no need to get any faster or better than what we are right now, I don't think. You know, I built the computer that I'm using right now, and it's just insane. You know, it does not need to be any faster than that. My internet is 100 megabytes per second download speed. There is no way that you need internet that fast. It doesn't need to go any faster than that. It's okay where it is. We can just stop. If anything, we can go backwards a little bit and be just fine. But I don't know. I could talk about this for 4 hours probably, so I'll go ahead and just stop it here. I just thought I would share my experiences and everything with you guys, and wanted to clear up the whole thing about the land out there and my in-laws and all that kind of stuff. And I in no way take credit for any of the stuff that we have. It's just purely by luck. It's just purely luck, and that's all there is to it. I didn't make all the right decisions. I didn't do all the right things to get here, so I really can't offer any advice on that. Most of you probably thought you were doing the right thing by getting a home mortgage, and all of these things that people used to say that you needed to do. And so it's to no fault of their own if they're in debt way up to their eyeballs. That's what they were told they were supposed to do. So anyways, I'll stop it here. Maybe a little food for thought, get some comments going back and forth, and I guess that's it.